In around 1450 BCE, the Mycenaeans took over Crete and they invaded and took over Knossos. The Mycenaeans have a pretty complicated relationship with the Minoans. And as I mentioned in a previous lecture, DNA analysis tells us they were all probably descended from the same people. But when they overtook the island of Crete, they seem to have adapted Minoan art. And whether this means that Minoan artists were producing art for the Mycenae or that Mycenaean artists looked to Minoan art and decided that was the style that they wanted to continue is unclear. But we can look at later examples of frescoes in Knossos and get a sense of what Mycenaean tastes were. I'm showing you here the bull leaping fresco found in Knossos, and of course this was discovered and restored by our friend Sir Arthur Evans, who he and his followers put the pieces together and gave us this heavily restored mural in which you can see, I think, that some pieces, the more kind of three-dimensional pieces are the original, and then a lot is kind of drawn in to give us a sense of what the mural would have actually looked like. Like the Minoan frescoes, we have a border, kind of a geometric border, and then in it we see this sort of interesting overlapping pattern that reminds me a bit of the overlapping fabric on the skirts of the female figures we looked at, but they also seem to have a little bit of texture that might look like shells or some kind of sea creature that you might find on the beaches of Crete. This is an extremely active scene, and it consists of 3 figures and a bull. And these figures are leaping over the bull and landing on the bull and then kind of pirouetting off. They are acrobats that are performing this, and we see other bull leaping activities in frescoes as well. So this is not just a one-off thing. It could be just for entertainment, or some scholars feel that there might have been some deeper symbolic meaning and that it might be a fertility ritual, given that the bull is often associated with fertility. In any case, we see these youthful, vibrant figures with very little clothes on, leaping in kind of a almost supernatural way over this bull. We see 2 female figures, and we know this because female figures are generally depicted with white skin. So the 2 figures on the end are female, and the gentleman who is standing kind of doing a handstand and about to do a backflip is depicted with red skin. They are in 3 different stages of this activity, almost in a continuative narrative, although it's not, because we're definitely looking at 3 different figures. But we get a sense of what this action or this kind of feat would look like, which is essentially the first woman is grabbing the bull by the horns, literally, and is about to flip over and do a headstand like this gentleman is doing, and would be flipping off in the air and then landing like this woman. So we get a sense of the entire trick, not just one action. What's very important here is the artist is definitely interested in an active scene and seeing figures in motion. This is, of course, very different from Egyptian art, which is very static and motionless. The figures are not even standing on the ground. This one seems to be in mid-jump. This figure is very, very only slightly standing on a ground line, almost on tippy toes. The bull itself is in mid motion as well, and we see him in that position of a flying gallop that you might remember from our prehistoric lectures, indicates motion, indicates running. We see these beautiful swooping curvilinear lines that indicate not just motion, but a fluid kind of whole narrative that extends from one figure across the bull down to the last figure. Here's a diagram of what Evans thought that this ritual would look like. And I'm not sure how he knew that this is what it would look like, considering I don't think there were bull leapers at Knossos at his time. But this is his guess of what a bull leaper would do, which is essentially kind of what I just described. You would take the bull by the horns and maybe use the motion of the bull's head as he tried to flip you off his body, and create that motion, land on the bull's back, and then flip off at the end. Here's another image of what the reconstructed fresco looks like. And here I think, given that it has more of a raking view, you can get a sense of how these pieces are kind of put together like a jigsaw puzzle, and then the reconstruction shows kind of drawings underneath to give a better sense of what the whole might have looked like.